Well, that didn't turn out to be the case. Mana helped with healing, but magic had its limits. Sure, it could fix physical injuries, like regrowing a missing arm, and work wonders in those areas. But when it came to something like lowering a child's fever from a cold, nope, magic couldn't do much there. Because of that, I still have a job to do. The doctor kept an eye on President Go, who was already getting ready to tackle the next thing on his schedule. If anyone could find a way to help him, even with magic, it should be the president, right? But here's the thing. Neither healing magic nor modern medicine was working for President Go's condition. It was a puzzle no one could crack yet. The doctor didn't have much to offer except advice. You need to stay in bed and rest, even if it's just for a little while. He said. I'd like that, Gunhee replied. But deep down, he wondered what would happen if he did. Without him, the Hunters Association would be in trouble. President Go's chuckle made him think about this very question. Even now, big guilds with lots of money were growing stronger by the minute. They were as powerful as a nation's army. The association's influence didn't come from the government backing them. It was all thanks to President Go's leadership. If the association ever lost control, the guilds would break loose like untamed stallions. Not yet. But the time hadn't arrived for President Go to step down. The association was the only thing holding the power over those big guilds. He couldn't leave until he had a solid backup plan in place. Staying here meant proving that everything was still running smoothly and strong. And let's not forget, he wasn't just any S rank, but the top-tier S rank, the glue holding it all together. President Go let out a loud groan and clutched his chest, wrinkling up his perfectly ironed dress shirt. Here you go, Mr. President, the doctor said, handing him a painkiller and a glass of water. The medicine helped ease the pain a bit. Just as he was starting to feel better, his phone rang. He had specifically told his secretary not to disturb him while the doctor was there. President Go scowled and picked up the call. Who could be calling now? President Go was right in the middle of his physical when his secretary called. The man's voice was urgent over the phone. I'm sorry, Mr. President. Something important just came up. Did Japan call again? President Go asked, still trying to button his shirt. They did, the secretary replied. But that's not it. This made President Go stop and listen more carefully. What could be bigger than dealing with those troublesome Jeju ants? What is it? He pressed, curiosity growing. The secretary hesitated before speaking up. We've heard from the evaluation team. President Go furrowed his brow. The evaluation team was responsible for raiding gates and people with special powers, known as awakened beings. This sounded serious. They weren't usually a group that caused trouble. Or maybe, did they mess up measuring another gate? He frowned, remembering their latest clash with the White Tiger Guild. His frown faded quickly. The secretary's news stunned him way beyond what he'd imagined. The evaluation team, the secretary announced, they found an awakened being with a power level off the charts. President Go of the Hunters Association. Did he really hear that right? Jin-Woo blinked in shock. The strongest hunter in South Korea was here. At this time of night, in the hospital. He couldn't believe what he'd just heard. Jin-Chul nodded seriously, confirming Jin-Woo's suspicions. The president of the Hunter Association is here to see you, he said. Jin-Woo's eyes widened. What? He could barely process it. Jin-Chul stared nervously, waiting for Jin-Woo to say something. It was obvious he wasn't kidding around. This was really happening. Why was Gunhee Go looking for him? Jin-Woo's mind raced non-stop. It had to be about his reevaluation results, right? Was he trying to recruit Jin-Woo for the association? But wait, the association was a non-profit group. Normally, the president wouldn't bring a surveillance team member just to scout one hunter. Something didn't add up. Besides, he hadn't even had his final checkup yet. The more Jin-Woo thought about it, the weirder it all seemed. Fine. Jin-Woo agreed with a small smile. Jin-Chul's face lit up like someone had flipped a switch. Gone was the nervous guy from just moments before. Thank you so much. His deep voice filled with gratitude. It was pretty surprising to see such a tough-looking guy make such friendly expressions. Jin-Woo found himself fascinated as he trailed behind Jin-Chul. When they turned the corner, Jin-Woo spotted an elderly man sitting on one of the stiff hospital waiting room chairs. His heart skipped a beat. This was Gunhee Go, the S-rank hunter known as a god among gods. Just then, President Go noticed him and stood up. Even in his 80s, he had an air of authority that made Jin-Woo hold his breath. Hunter Jin-Woo sung. President Go asked, his voice firm and clear. Despite his age, he stood tall, exuding power and confidence. Jin-Woo couldn't help but notice the man's build. It was like someone who used to be a pro wrestler or compete in traditional Korean wrestling called Seirum. But unlike what Jin-Woo expected, there was nothing arrogant about him. He seemed different from what Jin-Woo had imagined. Jin-Woo thought the man would look intimidating, but it was actually the secretary standing next to him who looked scarier. "Yes, I'm Jin-Woo Sung," he said. President Go smiled and held out his hand, looking very pleased. "Nice to meet you," Jin-Woo said. "I'm Gun-hee Go." They shook hands and President Go gestured to a couple of chairs arranged facing each other. "Have a seat." "Thank you," Jin-Woo replied. He waited until the president sat down before taking his own seat. Jin-Woo noticed a shiny gold badge on President Go's lapel. This man was not only the president of the Hunters Association, but also a congressman, and an S-rank awakened being, to boot. It wasn't every day you got to meet someone like President Go. Plenty of folks wanted to meet him, from politicians to big business leaders visiting from other countries. It all seemed pretty strange. Why on earth would someone as important as Gun-hee Go rush to see Jin-Woo? First, he met Jong-in Choi. And now here's Gun-hee Go. Jin-Woo had the chance to meet not one, but two people at the top of their fields. He hadn't even been officially confirmed as an S-rank yet, when President Go interrupted his thoughts. "Congratulations on becoming an S-rank hunter," he said. Jin-Woo tilted his head in confusion. "But my results aren't official yet." President Go shook his head. "Honestly, the reevaluation doesn't really change anything." Jin-Woo's eyes widened in surprise. "Huh." The president smiled warmly at Jin-Woo's confused face. "A more advanced manometer does give a clearer reading, but it wasn't designed to measure someone as strong as you." "Then why?" Jin-Woo started to ask. President Go chuckled. "You're asking why we even have the reevaluation process in the first place." Jin-Woo nodded, and President Go continued. "Well, sometimes the system just can't keep up with people like you." If the results were going to be the same, why wait? President Go had a simple answer. "It's a grace period." Jin-Woo asked, confused. President Go looked a little embarrassed. "It's like a free pass. We're trying to sneak in and reach out to hunters like you before anyone else does." President Jin-Woo's eyes lit up as he caught on. "Oh." President Go smiled. "You get it. Look, we might not be the biggest group out there. Because of the big guilds," Jin-Woo said, finishing his sentence. "Exactly because of the big guilds." President Go agreed. "Why would hunters come to us when they can join a fancy guild and make way more money?" Sure, hunters at the association didn't get paid peanuts, but it was nothing compared to what they could earn in a top-tier guild. Fame works in strange ways. While plenty of people can rattle off the names of top-tier raid team members, hardly anyone knows about Manager Woo. Just hearing the words top-tier raid team made Jin-Woo think of Chul Kim, an A-rank hunter. Thanks to his perception stat, Jin-Woo could tell how strong someone was just by looking at them. And from what he could see, Jin-Chul was way stronger than Chul. Sure, they were both ranked the same, but their skills weren't even close. Jin-Woo glanced over at Jin-Chul, who turned bright red and looked down, embarrassed by the president's praise and Jin-Woo's attention. But here's the thing. If Chul had actually started working as a hunter, he'd probably be way more famous and richer than Jin-Chul by now. You ever wonder what makes a hunter from an association different from one in a guild? Well, here's the deal. That's why we came up with a little test. They explained. We wanted to see how someone super talented would handle it if they showed up at the association. Wait, so is this test some kind of trick? If you think about it, once everyone finds out what happened, it becomes way harder for the association to connect with that person. It's like if you suddenly became famous, everyone knows who you are, but it's not as easy to just walk up and talk to you anymore. It all made sense the way they were handling things. President Go's smile disappeared. "Let's cut to the chase," he said. "We're not a company, so we can't promise to make you rich." But he had been playing with something on his chest and now clenched it tightly in his fist. "We can guide you down a different path." "What do you mean?" I mean we can help you gain a different kind of power," he said, revealing what was in his hand. There, resting on his palm, was a shiny gold badge that caught the light. Jin-Woo looked at it like he didn't get what it meant. "I don't understand," he said. "Wait, what?" President Go asked, leaning in slightly. "Why are you going to so much trouble for me?" Jin-Woo asked. It was a fair question. President Go's eyes sparkled as he studied Jin-Woo. Instead of being awestruck by the president, or drooling over the incredible opportunity right in front of him, Jin-Woo just calmly asked his questions. "Did I misjudge him?" President Go wondered. President Go held back a grin. You know about the top 5 guilds, right? Jin-Woo nodded silently. He definitely heard of them. The Hunters, White Tiger, Reapers, Fame and Knights were the biggest names in Korea. They were already super powerful. If you join any one of them, President Go continued, it will shake things up big time. Right now these guilds kept things balanced, but adding Jin-Woo to the mix could change everything. What if one of them brought in another S-rank hunter and claimed the top spot? Would they listen to the association then? The association's job was to keep things balanced. As Sung Jin-Woo once thought, you can't control hunters with rules or government power. And he was right. Monsters weren't just the magical beasts they fought. Hunters could be just as scary, if not scarier, than anything else out there. That's why we need the Hunter Association, President Go said, his face showing how serious things were. And right now, we really need someone like Jin-Woo Sung. They needed a hunter as strong as Jin-Woo to help keep everyone safe. Gun-hee watched him carefully, thinking about how important it was to have Jin-Woo on their team. He planned to keep a close eye on Jin-Woo for a while. But if Jin-Woo agreed to join, Gun-hee would make sure he had all the support he needed. Ranks were super important, so that kind of treatment made sense. President Go hoped this would help Hunter Sung understand what was on the line. For the first time in a long while, he felt both nervous and excited. He leaned in and asked quietly, "What are you going to do, Hunter Sung?" President Go's offer, it wasn't a bad deal at all. To be continued. With President Go backing him, even someone without special powers could zoom straight to the top. Congress, the government, the media, you name it. President Go had influence everywhere, so for an S-rank hunter with his support, the possibilities were endless. Jin-Woo imagined himself in his sleek suit, sitting right next to Congressman Go. His heart raced at the thought. This was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, something most people could only dream of. But there was a catch. He couldn't ignore. If he joined the association, he'd have to give up leveling up forever. Top hunters in the association rarely went on field missions anymore. His main job wasn't fighting magical creatures but handling other hunters. Even if he got permission to join an association raid, they only tackled D or E rank dungeons, places too easy for guilds to care about. He couldn't be happy just cleaning up low-level monsters that didn't give him any experience. He wanted to get stronger and keep climbing higher. If it was impossible, he might have given up. But quitting when he knew success was still within reach. No chance. As long as he kept leveling up and growing stronger, anything was possible. Bad dump. His heart raced faster now than when he'd imagined standing side by side with President Go. Jin-Woo wasn't the only one feeling hyped. Gun-hee had noticed the change in him too. His breathing quickened, his energy shifting like a spark ready to ignite. As he finally made a decision, he was hoping for good news. No, it absolutely had to be good news. I don't have much time left. President Go's heart raced like crazy as he waited for Jin-Woo's answer. Every second felt like an eternity. Jin-Woo opened his mouth. I'm sorry. President Go froze. He had seemed so sure about something. Was I imagining things? The disappointment was written all over his face. In the end, Jin-Woo Sung only amounted to this. President Go's offer hadn't been some empty promise. President Go had actually planned to give Jin-Woo much more than he did. This was the first S rank in 2 years and he wanted to keep Jin-Woo by his side to teach him everything he knew. If Jin-Woo showed he was up for the challenge, President Go would have even trained him to take over as his successor. The association needed someone super strong to hold it together once President Go was gone. President Go let out a frustrated mutter as he lowered his arm, the gold badge still clutched in his hand. This is ridiculous, he said. Under his breath. I've been made a fool of, Jin-Woo answered quickly. No sir, it's not about money. President Go rolled his eyes inwardly. They all say that, she thought. But deep down, they're all the same. In the end, it was all about money, with getting famous being just a bonus. President Go knew that people being greedy is part of who we are, so he wasn't mad at Jin-Woo for wanting more. He just wished people would be honest.
Then why did you reject my proposal?
President Go asked, curious to see how Jin-Woo would react. I want to hunt, Jin-Woo replied without hesitation. This hit Gun-hee like a truck. What did he just say? Gun-hee felt like the air had been knocked out of him. Wait, you really want to hunt magic beasts? Jin-Woo nodded. Yes, I do. He kept his explanation simple. I want to go through these gates and fight those creatures. That's where I belong. President Go couldn't believe what he was hearing. People in his position learn how to tell when someone is lying or telling the truth just by looking into their eyes. It's a skill you need to get as far as he had. Looking at Jin-Woo, President Go could see the truth staring back. Those eyes were serious. This wasn't a joke. When was the last time he'd met someone so upfront and honest? Most people in this line of work had hidden motives or angles. They weren't sharing, but not Jin-Woo. He meant every word. President Go couldn't help but think about Gun-hee, someone who'd been around long before Jin-Woo. Even when Gun-hee first got his powers, he was already past his prime. Instead of fighting beasts, he used his abilities in other ways. Now, seeing Jin-Woo so determined brought back memories, and made President Go realize how rare this kind of sincerity was. He sold his business and used that money to create a group for hunters. With his newfound popularity, he even got into Congress and helped make laws to protect hunters. But despite all these big achievements, he held on to one big regret he couldn't shake. Thump 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 thump. President Go pressed a hand against his chest, his eyes wide with emotion. If only I were 20 or even 10 years younger, he sighed. I could fought alongside brave young hunters like him. He paused, leaving the rest of his thought hanging in the air as if he couldn't stop thinking about what could have been. His heartbeat was so intense. It felt like it might stop any second. But then it started pounding away. Who would have thought his heart could still race like this? But the steady thump actually lifted his spirits. On the other hand, Jin-Woo was completely baffled. This was weird. He had expected the guild to drop him after he turned down their offer. But instead, President Go looked kinda happy about it. Well, whatever. He had already said what needed to be said. Jin-Woo jumped up from his seat. I really should head home, my sister's alone there. President Go smiled warmly and stood up too. He dug into his pocket and handed Jin-Woo something small. Here, take this, he said. It was a business card. Jin-Woo looked at it in surprise, then back at President Go, who beamed with kindness. If you ever need help, don't hesitate to reach out any time. Jin-Woo was right, powerful hunters should be out there fighting in dungeons. Even though Gun-hee hadn't been able to recruit Jin-Woo for his team, he still wanted to help him out. The truth is, Gun-hee really liked this young hunter and had some advice to share. Sure, here's the rewritten text. President Go's advice might have seemed a bit nagging, but it was clear he was coming from a place of concern. It's impossible to tackle high-ranked dungeons alone, he said. So please be really careful when choosing a guild. His words carried extra weight, because Jin-Woo's decision could make big waves. For a moment, Jin-Woo flashed a mysterious smile, showing he'd heard President Go's heartfelt advice. Jin-Woo took the business card and tucked it into his wallet. He said quick goodbyes to President Go and Jinchul before heading out. As he left, President Go let out a big sigh and flopped back into his chair. Woo, he sighed. Jinchul walked over, looking worried. You okay? He asked, but President Go just grinned and waved him off. Sure, I'm good, he said with a smile. It had been a long time since he'd felt this excited about meeting someone new. President Go soaked up the feeling for a moment before turning to his assistant. Cancel everything on my schedule today, he said firmly. But remember your meeting with the cabinet. His secretary reminded him. Cancel it all. No exceptions. He couldn't help but grin at his own words. I don't want to let this good mood go to waste on those boring people today. Gun-hee said to himself. He wanted to keep this feeling going for at least the rest of the day. Suddenly President Go's eyes locked onto Jinchul. Jinchul's heart skipped a beat. Smiles from the president were super rare. Did you want to say something to me? Jinchul asked nervously. Gun-hee hesitated for a moment, tapping his chin thoughtfully. How about we grab a drink together? He suggested. Jinchul blinked in surprise and gave an awkward grin at the unexpected invite. I don't handle alcohol well, Jinchul admitted. Looking down. Is that okay with you, sir? Gun-hee chuckled and teased. I didn't take you as someone who can't handle much. He added playfully. You know what they say, how much you can drink says a lot about how big your world is. Jinchul's face turned red as he scratched the back of his neck. Sorry, he muttered. Gun-hee laughed and said, I was just kidding around. Gun-hee was in a super good mood, so much that he felt like cracking jokes. But deep down, there was someone else he'd rather share a drink with, someone who wasn't around right now. His eyes drifted toward the hallway where Jin-Woo had just walked away. Enter Jin-Woo Sung. Gun-hee couldn't help but wonder how Jin-Woo would handle a drinking session. He smiled to himself, hoping they could have that moment someday. Then, outside, There was a loud screed as a bus came to a stop, followed by the hiss of its doors opening. Jin-Woo stepped off the bus, ready to take on whatever came next. He had used Gina as an excuse to leave, but when he checked his watch, it wasn't quite time for her to come home yet. He headed back to their apartment at a relaxed pace. Then, he heard something strange, poked. Soaked. He turned around, and noticed a streetlight blinking like it was about to go out. What was that weird noise? As he stepped back and took another look around, the area seemed way too dark. They were pretty far from the city center, so it was no surprise that there were shadowy spots just off the main road. Suddenly a memory popped into his head. A recent headline about some mysterious murders. If he remembered right, all the victims were women. His sister often walked down this street late at night, and with Gina's school nearby, they couldn't just up and move. It made him worry about her safety. Jin-Woo could easily catch the criminal, but he couldn't just hang around every night waiting for Gina out of worry. What else could he do? Jin-Woo crossed his arms, then smiled as an idea popped into his head. Others can keep watch for me instead.
Perfect.
Step forward, Jin-Woo said. 5 shadow soldiers appeared at his command. They were all seasoned fighters from the battles at Demon's Castle. Jin-Woo could tell just by looking at them that they were trustworthy. From now on, you're the neighborhood's guardians. He told them, go patrol the streets. As soon as he gave the order, the soldiers faded into darkness again and set off, slipping through the shadows between buildings. That's all it took. Sneak around quietly so no one spots you. They were so cute. But let's be real, someone on a killing spree wouldn't stand a chance against those shadowy figures unless they were an elite hunter. And even then, Jin-Woo would instantly know if something went down with his team. Plus, he's an S-rank hunter, or maybe I should call myself an S-rank awakened being since I haven't officially been recognized as one. Either way, that's not the main issue here. So, this neighborhood was basically being protected by an S-rank hunter, or someone with awakened powers. Can you imagine? If people found out about this free 24/7 security, real estate prices would skyrocket. Jin-Woo couldn't help but smile. He felt a wave of relief wash over him. With a satisfied look on his face, he glanced around, and then turned to leave. Wait a minute, someone said, sounding annoyed. I rushed all the way here because you invited me to dinner. And now we're having Korean barbecue. Jin-Woo raised an eyebrow, surprised by the reaction. Are you making fun of the pork belly here? I've got super special memories of eating here with my boss. Jinyo's face turned red as he slammed down his drink and puffed out his chest. Okay, fine. So why'd you drag me to your super special spot then? Sushun didn't look impressed. She'd been half asleep when Jinyo called her out of the blue. Sushun's, please cheer me up. When did you start calling me sis? When did you start calling me sis? She'd only come because she felt bad for him. But here they were at a place like this. Suyun grew up with everything she could ever want. And now she worked as a model, so a place like this was totally not her scene. She had quickly put on a little makeup and a hat before rushing out. But even so, a bunch of guys couldn't stop staring at her. What's going on? Sam teased Jinyo. You gotta use words. As she filled his shot glass with more soju. Jinyo sniffled. Look at this, my boss isn't picking up. His voice cracked as he handed her his phone. The screen showed 1 call that went through and 4 that didn't.